Apple has extended the time for developers to make updates on outdated apps from 30 days to 90 days. A few days ago, the company announced that it would remove old apps from the App Store that hadn't been updated in a while. 90 days is more generous than the limited 30 days. The extra time will be welcome news for developers that were caught off guard and scrambling to try to keep their apps active. Developing apps is easier than it once was. However, it still takes a significant amount of time, and getting into the flow of an app's logic isn't something that happens instantly. It's a bit like reading a mystery novel, where there are several little details and characters to remember, and the timing and interactions of each are critical to understanding the bigger picture. Since the iPhone's App Store launched in 2008, an app could theoretically be 14 years old. Now imagine the clock is ticking, and multiple mysterious cold cases, or old apps in this case, have to be reopened and updated. That's why developers were feeling very pressured and upset. The latest news from Apple about removing what it considered outdated apps from the App Store suggests that it heard developers' complaints and decided to make this change a little easier. The time given for updating these old apps has been extended to 90 days, 3 times longer than before. While more time is always better when under a heavy workload, this is a nice conciliatory gesture. Apple also explained that only apps no longer functioning correctly, or that no longer meet Apple's current app guidelines, would be subject to removal. This policy applies to apps made for the iPhone, Apple Watch, iPad, Apple TV and Mac, each of which has an App Store. Why Apple is removing apps? Apple also clarified which apps were being looked at, stating that only those that haven't been updated within the last 3 years will be considered for removal. This might seem a bit arbitrary since there is no wear and tear on software and plenty of devices run much older code. Some of Apple's own apps are over 3 years old. For example, Apple's iTunes Movie Trailers app for the iPhone, iPad and Apple TV hasn't been updated in 4 years. Here's another qualifier, however. An app will only be flagged for removal if it hasn't been downloaded at all or extremely few times in the last 12 months. Anyone that has downloaded the app can continue to use it. With that additional detail, the reasoning behind Apple's decision begins to make sense. An older app that isn't being downloaded isn't doing anyone any good. The unused app just takes up space and wastes time for users who might glance at it and then move on. By clearing out these unwanted apps, it becomes easier to find apps that are of interest. Requiring more frequent updates also sets a standard that helps bring more of Apple's new features to the user and ensures privacy labels are updated. Some older iPhone apps are great and have already proven trustworthy, but with Apple's new requirement, an app that's become a bit of a forgotten mystery will either be removed or get a refresh that might allow it to flourish.
I'm the strip and way.